Alrighty, people, how's it going? And as usual, I like to make criticism sucks. Sometimes I like to kick up the beehive. Sometimes I like to be a little shit stirrer myself. But I want to talk on the situation real quick about race swapping. And there's people saying that Saga Anderson in Alan Wake 2 was race swapped and changed for no reason whatsoever. Oh no, how did this happen? Sweet Baby, the absolute devil, Sweet Baby Inc. is at fault. And honestly, if you want to know my opinion on the whole Sweet Baby thing, because I know people are going to ask me about it, I'll make it brief. I feel as though, yes, some of the people on that team have said wildly crazy things. Same with Kotaku jumping into the situation and defending Sweet Baby. They have said wild things. Like the actual author of the article is anti-white. Do I agree that all people are bad that happen to be Caucasian? No. There are some subsects of people that are racist that I don't fuck with or agree with whatsoever, and then there are some people that are white who are not racist and they don't have a racist bone in their body. Take it from me, someone who actually dated a white woman, and she was never racist to me whatsoever as a black Indian man, okay? So that's one thing. Like, I have a history with Caucasian people in dating, and those people were not racist to me in the slightest. So to say that all of them are racist or label them is generalizing at best. Does Sweet Baby have employees that said stupid shit? Yes. But is there gamers who also said stupid shit, extremist shit, racist shit as well? Absolutely. We've seen it during Hogwarts Legacy. We've seen it during The Last of Us Part 2, where just for simply liking a video game, people want you to go die and have your baby stabbed and whatnot. And I believe all you extremists are absolutely stupid and you offer nothing to the equation whatsoever outside of just making the conversation sullied at best. Sure, you could put out information and expose this, that, or the third, but I'm not going to act like gamers aren't also pieces of shit sometimes. Because guess what? You are. I've seen it. I covered it. Some of the stuff that people be saying to journalists and some of the stuff journalists will say back to gamers are absolutely wild, and I believe that extremists on either end makes people look bad. So that's what I think. I'm never gonna get on here and get on my soapbox and say I'm going to defend death threats or I'm going to be against any sort of inclusion whatsoever. I hate black people. Like, there are folks that will do that open chest and fucking say this online completely, like full-blown open chest racism on either side. And I'm just like looking at these people going, this is why the communications between gamer to game dev is so fucking sullied, because people like this exist. So I'm not going to damage control or co-sign for my fellow gamers, because absolutely not. There are some people out there that are irrational, there are some people that are rational, and then everything else is in between. That's how it goes. That's how I feel about Gamergate 2. Once again, guys clashing, people clashing over articles and whatnot, and it's just, an entire gong show. It's a complete gong show. It's a train wreck you can't really look away from. That's how I feel about the whole Sweet Baby thing. Am I gonna stop playing games that are manufactured, with consulted cues by Sweet Baby? No, because guess what? How I judge a video game is by looking at it, assessing if I want to play it, then deciding am I going to go for it and play it. And if I like the game and I play it and I enjoy it quite a bit, nothing is going to change my opinion on the game, whether Sweet Baby is involved or not. That's how I always felt. I'm a very hands-on person, a very visual cue person. If I'm drawn to something and I like it, it doesn't matter who is involved. I'm going to play that motherfucker and I'm going to give my opinion. That's how I feel about it. If I am that invested, I'm going to play it. If I am not invested, I'm not going to play it. I'm going to stay the fuck away from it, or I'm going to regret I ever fucking touched it in the first place, and I'm going to sell it off to the cheapest pawn shop that I can, or absolutely destroy the game disc if I don't like the game. It's that simple. Like, I don't know why people are like, nuance is dead. If I don't like something, if I feel like the cons outweigh the pros, then I'm going to rid myself from that game. Like, I'm going to remove myself from the gene pool of that game. So that's how I feel. It doesn't matter if Sweet Baby is involved or not. I'm gonna feel the way that I feel and talk about it on this channel. That's how it goes. So White Saga to Black Saga, right? Um, so naturally, people are saying that, oh, she was race swapped for no reason. It's just a diversity check mark. You got this guy PC Focus saying, look like Remedy. It looks like Remedy is trying to cover up the fact that the protagonist of Alan Wake 2 was a diversity asset flip instructed for them to make Threatened by Sweet Baby Inc. And of course, one of the developers from the team of Remedy said, it's absolutely not true with this conspiracy theory by Hidden Machine. And then, of course, naturally, you have the stuff from Kim Bel-Air of Sweet Baby Inc., and they were brought in as consultants to refine the character voice and story arc, which is, again, people are highlighting things, but not talking about the full sentence. They came in to refine, meaning that the basic concept and idea and story arc was probably already there before Sweet Baby decided to come in and consult with the inclusivity. And here's the thing, okay? There's nothing inherently wrong with diversity done well. And we've seen people complain about this before with media like Prey. Prey the movie, where it's like, oh, a fucking girl takes over, and a Native American girl takes over, and oh, how is she doing the things that Arnie did in the past, even though Arnie was a similar survivor caught in a situation, had no idea the fight against a predator. How is a girl doing this? Now, there are people like that make those disingenuous and also like sort of weird talking points as if a predator with ancient technology can't be killed. Like, again, there are people that just are disingenuous and don't understand simple storytelling and them changing Saga from a white person to a black person. This is from proof and concept to development. I don't know if you're a game developer or you know anything about game development. Like, I'm not a game developer. I'm gonna tell you up front. I'm not a game developer. I've never made a game in my entire life. Would I want to be on a game development team? Would I want to talk about like video games from a producer standpoint? I would love that. I would kill for that. That's my dream job. But I'm not part of the industry. But when I say this, I want you to really understand. When it comes to developing a video game, going from pitch to final concept, so many things can change. When I think of a vapid sort of representation standpoint where they change something after a character that has been established as white goes to black, it's in the middle of them having a finalized version and then going to the sequel and finding out they've been race swapped or something like that for no reason whatsoever. And I'm like, what happened? What is the case there, right? But we're talking about pitch to final, which means that there's been several iterations of Alan Wake 2, which Sam Lake confirmed he's made multiple iterations of this game, parts where it didn't work. This is the words from the developer. Parts that didn't work out too well, whether it's from a gameplay or narrative standpoint, they didn't work out. They got scrapped over and over. They were fighting to get the rights of Alan Wake back from Microsoft. In the middle of that, Sam Lake doubting and thinking it's going to happen, and it does happen, and then he moves to the final version of Alan Wake, using those elements from the previous iteration and showing what worked well and what didn't in his mind. Is it a perfect game? Absolutely not. But did I enjoy it? Absolutely. And if this is the final vision, then, I mean, it's fine. It's fine for what it is. I thought it was a fine game, but did everything carry over in translation? Absolutely not. And this does not happen in game development. Like, my counterpoint was, oh, everything is Sweet Baby's fault. Nothing has ever changed from pitch to final concept in game development. And my sarcasm was due to this. This is Ada Wong from Resident Evil Village. As you guys know, Ada Wong is not in Resident Evil Village, RE8. So what they did was they almost went from pitch to final. They pitched the idea maybe Ada should come in and save Ethan. And then at the last minute, they decided, hey, it doesn't make sense. Let's change it. We're sorry, fans, but here's some cool concept art, right? Every developer does this. Every game developer, like I don't understand. It's not just a Sweet Baby thing. It's a game development thing. Let's go forward. We have Abby Anderson from The Last of Us Part 2. She's looking awfully slim. It's not the emaciated Abby Anderson. It's actual, it's a black character. It's a black Abby Anderson. All that stuff, right? It's not like people just have eternal hatred for this character, and if she was black, they would probably be saying the most racist things on earth. We probably would be seeing that happen, even if people said, well, Abby should have been black to fit the doctor from part one. And I just think that, fucking, it's just like a thing of a get like a really great look at this doctor. It's like on the PS3, all this other shit. So even if it was a black like character, she was a black female, I guarantee people would still like said some of the same like sort of condescending nasty stuff either way. But now she's white, and now that went from pitch to concept. So they decided, hey, we're gonna change this. This is gonna be different. It is what it is. Pitch to concept. And then we go to final game, and it's ultimately different. It's like this happens all the time. Again, this is like a proof and concept phase, something that only has artwork to it at best, or maybe like even for the Alan Wake 2 thing, we're talking about a pitch that was made from Departure. And I'm gonna go into Alan Wake 2 spoilers here. From what I've seen in Departure, Casey, Alex Casey, the guy that's with Saga. I know someone questioned this saying, oh, well, why is Alex Casey not changed or whatever? Well, for starters, you can have a thing that works out in the proof and concept phase, and it turns out to be beneficial in the end at the long run. Like, they wanted Sam Lake to be Casey, but they changed story elements, so it's not the same. Casey in Departure or Return or whatever story they were making, he fucking dies in that proof of concept, and he gets killed by either Alan Wake or Scratch, and I believe it was Scratch. Whereas in the final game, that does not happen, and they rewrite Casey's fate. Like, he does not die in that game. So things have changed. Clearly, it's not the same as the proof and concept was. We have Jack Joyce from Control, and he's having an awfully different looking face from his initial proof and concept in the teaser of Quantum Break with the demo. He looks like a completely different person, completely different face model from Shawn Ashmore. They decided that Shawn Ashmore was the more better candidate when they decided to rework the graphics, and now he looks like who he looks like. Jack Joyce, Tim Breaker, Shawn Ashmore, all that shit has been fixed from proof and concept. And I've been told that even Laura Croft was like changed from proof and concept. Like at first she was Laura Cruz, and then they decided to turn her into Laura Croft. It seems like she has sort of a Latina name, and they decided to change it around and say, okay, now Laura Croft is this British character, English character, and we're going to make her look different, appear different to her actual characterization that we wanted in the final game. And we changed it all around, and we revolutionized the industry for a female character. Are you trying to say that that's a bad idea, that they should go back and get Laura Cruz? It's like, to me personally, I'm all for equality. That is great. So none of this stuff bothers me as much as other people. We have concepts of Sonic the Hedgehog here. You can clearly tell he used to be a bird that was blue with a badass sort of greaser haircut, and it's awesome designs and concepts. Before we settled on the blue hedgehog we all know and love today, are we going back and canceling Sonic for being a bird originally? I don't think so. I don't think we're doing that, all right? And it's a few other posts that I agree with this. I'm not sure if this has to do with Rise of the Ronin, so that's gonna be another video. But at the end of the day, Resident Evil does this as well. Elza Walker, not the same 100% as Claire Redfield. They took concepts and ideas of a biker, but they decided in the final game it was best to tie a survivor to the original RE1, so they decided to make Elza Walker into Claire Redfield, the sister of Chris Redfield. It all worked out well. And my final point in this video is saying I don't think it was done as a random, off the cuff. We need this diversity check mark, etc. for no reason whatsoever, no story context. Let's read everything else I have to say about Black Saga and White Saga. So here, I think it makes sense for Saga to be black here. Again, I don't mind inclusion if it makes perfect sense. If she's connected to Warland Door, Director Hatch, who was in Quantum Break, and he was black, and he was portrayed by Lance Reddick. Unfortunately, Lance Reddick passed away, so they couldn't reuse his face in from Quantum Break to Alan Wake 2. But they're trying to show that these characters are all connected, and there might be this Remedy connected multiverse going on, right? And I think that's cool. But again, Warland Door and Director Hatch, who is black and also has a Viking descent, they put him in the game, they cast him in the game, then it means, you know, they also show the story context of their supernatural connection with the Mind Place. Warland Door is this weird supernatural entity. He could jump through realms, stuff like that. So apparently, if he is Director Hatch, he could jump through like certain pockets of the universe, and Remedy's trying to get back their IPs and shit, and they're trying to get, I think they got back Control, so I didn't know that they didn't own that. They got back Alan Wake, and they're trying to get back Quantum Break, which I know is going to expire because Microsoft has to make a new game in the franchise. If they don't, then the rights will revert back to Remedy. So everything is connected. Tim Breaker is Jack Joyce. The fucking Sean Ashmore, he shows up as the sheriff. I played the game on the channel, and he was talking about how he felt he was in another world, like it was another version of him. So they're setting all this up. They're setting all this shit up. The Mind Place is connected to Warland Door. If he is a supernatural entity, it shows how Saga has this latent ability to see things and have forethought ahead of time because she is connected to Warland Door. None of these motherfuckers have played or understood Alan Wake 2, but I do. And I don't think this is a random off chance like diversity checkmark for no reason if there's actual intricate and interesting lore details to this character that you just don't understand or won't bring up or will fail to bring up. Like, if you're connecting her to Door and Hatch was already black, then it doesn't make sense for Saga to be white anymore. Like, okay, how would she have this connection unless, like, fucking Warland Door went out and, like, I don't know, maybe you get, like, a mulatto or something, but still, I'm just saying, like, how the fuck would they be connected otherwise? A Caucasian person being born from a half black, half white person, it don't make sense unless she was light-skinned. So what are you gonna do? You're either going to change the character or you're going to make, like, some sort of light-skinned Saga Anderson. That's the only way it makes sense. It doesn't make sense that she's white anymore. And plus, you got to think of other factors like, okay, casting between differing auditions of multiple versions of Alan Wake. Maybe the original actress wasn't as good as Melanie. Like, that's always a possibility. There were multiple Spider-Men being selected before Tom Holland, before they decided to land on Tom Holland. It was Andrew what the fuck? Asa Butterfield? I don't know. I'm getting my Spider-Man mixed up now. I'm sorry. I apologize. Asa Butterfield, Tom Holland. They went with Tom Holland at the end. He was Spider-Man, but I remember people were talking about this Asa Butterfield guy saying that he was in the running to be Spider-Man before someone else was selected. The same thing happened with Supergirl. Millie Acock or whatever, Millie Acock, and then it was something else. It was another person that auditioned for Supergirl in James Gunn's DC universe, and eventually Millie Acock got the role. Sometimes you have a casting process. Sometimes you might be picked and selected for an Easter egg, and it doesn't really progress further outside of proof and concept. And then I say Door is explained to be otherworldly, who could hop through dimensions and possibly bend reality. Saga also has a latent talent like this with their mind plays. Put two and two together, man. It goes beyond just wham check marks. It actually brings specific lore details to the overall plot. Like, this dude was telling me, like, oh, oh, you didn't prove anything in Spanish, you dumbass. And I was like, I just did. It proves that things change in development or already was decided to be without the need for a consulting firm, because I doubt Sweet Baby existed in between that. They just got them for consulting at the end and decided, hey, we're going to make Saga black now. We're going to connect her to Door. Is there anything that we need for you to add into enhancing her character arc? And I think her character arc was fine without the game, like throughout the whole game. I say without, I say throughout. So Sam Lake distinctively wanted Saga to change, and that was per the developer, and it was an in-universe explanation proving it's just more than a diversity asset flip. Shut up, puto. Yeah, I said shut up, bitch. But I think I came to the conclusion that there are people who just don't understand this concept. Like, sometimes stuff changes in game development, in movies, creation, etc. We all know this. But depending on how great or bad it is, we also will recognize. And I don't think this was a bad change whatsoever, because it made me more invested into the story of Alan Wake 2. This game wouldn't have won best narrative for nothing if the Sweet Baby Devil decided to put in all the stuff that diluted the experience, and I don't think that it did, personally. Now you can believe whatever you want with this game. It's fine. If you feel like, oh well, it's just another asset flip, it completely destroyed the story of Alan Wake 2. I think you're a dumbass, but that's just my opinion. That's your perspective. That's my perspective, and we gonna live with that today. All right. Is there anything else I want to bring up? I know there's extra Resident Evil changes, like in RE1 there's going to be a cyborg on the team, and they decided to scrap that, and I agree with that because it would have made things a lot less tense and realistic. You got fucking a Terminator on the team. Like, what are those zombies gonna do? Nothing. Like, okay, like everything happens for a reason. Chris Redfield dying, I would have been okay with that at RE6, right? It would have been fine. It seemed like his time to go in RE6, but they decided not to, and they let Pierce take the bullet. He died in RE6. So I guess this was due to, affinity of Chris Redfield. People love the character. Solid Snake, Otacon were going to be executed in MGS4, and they changed that to an ending that, Snake still kind of dies, but it's a lot more peaceful, off screen. He gets Fox Die mutated, but MGS4 still ends in a way where it's like not as daunting as Otacon and Snake being publicly executed at the end of the game. What else? Metal Gear Solid has shit change in terms of Metal Gear Solid 2. I think some of that plot was different. What else with proof and concepts shit? Like, fucking, it's so many games that I could just label off, from proof and concept to final characters like dying, not dying, being changed around, faces being changed, faces being changed in real time, like for Marvel Spider-Man with the whole fucking Ben Jordan controversy with him and the other guy, John Bubenach. I talked about that on the channel. Like, this happens, folks. Like, and it's not just a Sweet Baby overall thing. It's just a symptom of what the game developer decides to do at the end of the day. And sometimes this stuff can be either for better, where you get like stuff like Alan Wake 2, where I think the storytelling is great. I think this Remedy connected universe is great. I want to know more of it. And sometimes it's for better or worse. Sometimes we get games that are canceled. Sometimes we get stuff that we will never see. But this happens. And I think that people saying, oh, Sweet Baby is the overall devil and they cause all this. No, this has been happening well before, in advance. And it's just something that either you haven't brought a lot of attention to, or you just can't accept it because in your mind, you are someone who, is just on this bandwagon at first, and you're not thinking logically outside of the box. Like, think outside of the fucking box. Think to when this happened before with other titles. Like, holy shit, dude. Oh my god, I can't believe it. I can't believe some people are just this dense. It blows my mind. Uh, Even levels, like giant levels and concepts, shit that got removed, man. It's common sense. But anyway, I'm gonna end this video here. I think I proved my point where it's like, you know, people are fishing for like molehills within the mountain and they're not really like understanding how some of this stuff works. Like it happens all the time. I again, White Saga, and it's even people talking about this on Reddit. Like, you know, we saw her last in Quantum Break, and it was more of a proof of concept and Easter egg, not in an official trailer, not in an official announcement. She was not white in a reveal of any kind that was the final version. Hell, the version of Alan Wake 2 we got probably isn't even the same version that was teased back then, which is also true. That's why I think the game developer saying, no, this didn't happen, like, what are you talking about, is false, because there's been so many versions of this fucking game already. And it makes sense for her to be black, which echoed the same point that I did earlier. Mr. Dora would probably have been played by the same guy that played Hatch, and I brought that up as well, Lance Reddick. And they got this guy, I forget his name too, but I think it was David Herford or whatever. He did a stellar performance for what it was. But yeah, look, all this stuff is connected. All this stuff works out well. It's interesting. It's done really well. If it was surface level, vapid, then they wouldn't have put any effort into that whatsoever, like they did in the final game. And quite honestly, I cannot wait to see what happens when Remedy gets fucking Quantum Break. Like, I want to see what they do with that and Jack Joyce going forward, and the connections with that. And if it's well written, then I'm gonna fucking play it and like it and enjoy it. That's how I feel about it. No Sweet Baby or Sweet Baby. That's how I feel about it. What do you think of this video? Comment below and let me know. And also script writing as well. Like sometimes the scripts aren't finalized within this whole scenario as well. Like it's moving cogs here, man. And if you believe there's no moving cogs in the entirety of game development, which causes a lot of these things to change for better reasons sometimes, then you are either an idiot, a moron, or someone who just literally lives life in a bubble thinking that your conspiracy is the right one all along. Fuck you. See you later.